Hello, hello. And we are live yet again, and this will be one of my authors' chats of the week. And I'll just keep my eye out for my co-host, and as always, we'll be talking about books, writing, publishing, and everything in between. And as I'll wait a moment as this live function starts notifying people who are out and about at this time that I'm live. I always like to begin by a couple questions, which I'll get to momentarily. But for those who will probably be listening in at a later date, I have just released a beta function of a bookshop on my pre-existing author's website. So testing that out right now. That should be, it's a little stressful, but here we go. Let's see. See the invite. And we'll be off momentarily. Crossing fingers that all goes well. Hello, hello?
Hello.
I can hear you. I cannot see you at this moment in time.
Yeah. Still getting
And I feel
situated.
like this happens more often than not. And one day, someone will explain to me why that happens so I can explain to other people how to fix it. There we go.
There
Fantastic.
we go.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. And it's nice to meet you now on a kind of virtual space, at least. So, how, like, get yourself comfortable. No. And how I do these, it's pretty casual. I don't know if you've ever listened to any of mine before, but pretty conversational. If, anybody in your feed ask questions, we answer them, kind of like that. And I usually start out, because you're my co-host this week, let you introduce yourself and a little bit about what you write, and we'll just go from there.
Awesome. My name is Seth Collins. I am a dark fantasy slash young adult author.
Love it.
Um, I have two books out currently. I have The Wrath of Blood and Bone, which is my dark fantasy novel, and then I
Beautiful.
have The Kids from Yesterday, which is my young adult novel. Um,
Fun.
I believe that's about it. I like to dabble in a lot of other different genres. I have a bunch of different stuff planned for outside of dark fantasy and young adult, but as of right now, that is all that I do.
Hey, no, that's really cool. And actually, I'm an author. I write. Sorry, I have an itchy nose. I came in from outside, so I'm trying not to scratch it. But what I write is I'm an epic fantasy author, and I have a variety of series behind me. But they do range broadly from young adult, new adult to adult. Um, in that kind of age bracket, from the grittier side to the more fun side. And I found that it can be a challenge, even though I am an epic fantasy author, to
Mhm.
still cross over these age gaps, as well as the kind of subgenres of the noble bright, more questing
Mhm.
based versus something a little darker and grittier in the fantasy side. So for you, since you did YA and then you
Mhm.
said you have a dark fantasy, I'm assuming it's for an older crowd. So how do you kind of figure out how to market your books to the right people?
I haven't. um, TikTok is an enigma to me right now. Marketing wise, I when it comes to marketing my books, I stick to I like making these sort of movie style trailers for my books.
Ooh. Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'll stick with, depending on the sound that I use, I'll stick with because my YA book is heavily influenced by a lot of music that I listened to when I was growing up.
Fun.
So I'll use some of that music as kind of sounds to market that, kind of towards that crowd. But when I market my fantasy stuff, I'll normally stick to kind of like the stereotypical fantasy sounds, that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, so for me, I told you I'm sorry about this nose. Um, but okay, so I've talked to other authors who mention, certain books are
Mhm.
heavily influenced by the sound, either the soundtracks you're listening to
Mhm.
or various musics and themes. And I've heard some really creative ideas, which one, if you haven't done, maybe you'll do it. But I'm coming up with a YouTube playlist where you
Mhm.
offer that to readers and say, hey, this is, the collection that I was listening to when you're writing. Another author was figuring out how to, which I thought was really cool. I can't wrap my head around it, but figuring out how to almost like an annotated note on the side,
Mhm.
post, start listening to this song here, and it
Yep.
plays like music they listen per scene in the book if you are that kind of person, which is really kind of fun. So as a person
Mhm.
inspired by music, have you thought of anything to like offer your readers and your fans?
I did do something like that. So all of my this whole series, I've had fully plotted out and written in my mind for about 7 or 8 years. Um,
Ooh.
and I actually have a playlist made
Yeah,
in the back of the book because
perfect.
not only is the book title a song, one of my favorite songs, but all of the chapters and all of the books going forward are named after songs as well.
Oh,
And then
fun.
they all started off as just Spotify playlists, essentially. I have playlists for each of them on my Spotify. They're all public, even the ones that aren't done yet. And
That's cool.
but each of like the songs that each of the chapters that are named after songs correspond to thematically kind of what's happening in that chapter, but more or less it's just kind of songs that kind of help me get through tough times of my childhood, which is more or less what the book's about.
Wow, that's really neat. Yeah, I love the idea of music and literature. And I know on my YouTube channel,
Mhm.
I need to update them a little bit, but I do kind of have like the playlist again, like you said, thematically for different
Mhm.
series, or maybe one represents in my mind one of the relationships or how a character's feeling in a certain book of the
Mhm.
series, because I'm a series writer and stuff like that. So that's always kind of fun to hear and listen to. Do you listen to music as you write, or is this something you listen to before, after, but not during?
Before and after, when I'm writing, I'm the type of person when I write, I need absolute silence.
Me too.
I
Okay,
get
okay, thank you.
very, I get so distracted by just the smallest things. And once like I get distracted by something, I'm gone and I'm no good. So I
Oh
need
wow.
like focus. And
I
I
like it.
should, but in between like writing, when I'm writing that particular series, yeah, I'll listen to the playlists all day long. I'm the type of person who's been listening to the same music since I was like 8 years old. I'm almost 30 now, so I.
Yeah, I love that. But no, I
Mm,
mean, when music is so impactful to you in your life at different stages, I mean,
mm,
again, you go back to it for whatever reason. So sometimes that influences someone else's music, or maybe works of literature, or who knows what else, but that is kind of cool
yeah.
and very neat. In your dark fantasy, do you have anything similar, or is this more or less concentrated to your YA?
Music wise, it's more concentrated towards the Kids from Yesterday series. When it comes to my dark fantasy series, it is strictly influenced by the video games that I play.
Hey, that's cool
Um,
too.
I don't know if you've ever heard of the Dark Souls video games,
Yes,
but
I've heard about them. I have not played them yet, but yes, I know them.
they're so good. And the bulk of the series and some of the themes that it kind of dives into as the series goes on, purely
Hmm.
based off of my feelings playing the Dark Souls games and kind of like the themes in that game and stuff like that.
That's cool. I wonder, and again, my mind always spins on like creative ways for other authors to like, do fun things. And if your dark YA, not dark YA, your dark fantasy is influenced by different kind of video games, and as you say, Dark Souls, I wonder if you could find an artist who does some kind of similar imagery to some of the Dark Souls images, but do your
Mhm.
characters or your creatures or whatever you have in your book
Oh
as like
yeah.
character art or creature art or whatever. And again, to
Mhm.
kind of replicate that tie-in between one
Mhm.
style and your work.
I've thought about doing that. I really have. There's a particular character in my book that I won't name because it would be spoilers. But they have kind of like a thematic resemblance to one of my favorite characters in the Dark Souls games, and I kind of thought about doing a little bit of like a getting an artist to do sort of like a melding of the two, in like an
Hmm.
art style, but I haven't yet. I do have a bunch of art for the kids from yesterday, but as of right now, I don't have any art for the Blood and Bone trilogy just yet.
And that, hey, maybe that's your next step. But
Oh
that
yeah.
would be kind of cool to do. I could see the artwork working very well together. And again, nodding back now. as a genre, all these, I'm always learning like these new subgenres, and there's like lit RPG and, you know, D&D literature and all this kind of stuff. So is that something that you would ever consider kind of delving into if you are a gamer who likes to write, to delve into maybe some of those style genres
Oh
down the
yeah,
line?
I would love to. I
Makes
would
your life
love
more
to.
complicated.
Yeah. um, yeah, I have no idea what that would look like for me, but I would love to. Yeah, kind of delve into those types of genres. Yeah, 100%.
That would be so much fun.
I
And I
did
see your
make my
comment
own
saying you
D&D
made your own
campaign.
D&D campaign. That's
I did.
cool.
I did. I do. I have thought of. I told Willow this the other day. Willow's my wife, by the way. Me, her, and two of our friends ran a D&D campaign that I wrote, that I made, and
Okay, so
the
I
way
need to
that,
work with you on future projects. I'll get to that in a moment, but continue your story. I just need to put a pin there.
but the way that it played out, like it was very kind of the way that I like to make my D&D games is very like story based first,
Hmm.
and then just have everyone just kind of have as much fun as they possibly can in the world and not really take the gameplay itself too seriously. Um, so I had like character development and like character arcs like lined up for these characters and everything, and I have kind of started to outline like a book about like that campaign that we did, kind of just following those
Yes.
events with the characters and everything.
See,
I
I
think
know
that
a
was
lot of
kind of,
authors
yeah.
are getting into Kickstarter. I'm gonna grab something so I can show you, but yeah, I'm sorry, I'm like turning my face away. I wonder if I have one. Yes, I do. Various Kickstarters for different reasons, and some of them are to promote, you know, the release of their upcoming book, or some of them are for like special releases or add-on packages. But I think, you know, if not to again add more complexity to your life, which you're an author and it's already complex enough, but
It can be.
to run a Kickstarter for a D&D style spinoff of some of your books. And the reason why I'm saying is that was one of the things that I did for my Kickstarter for my young adult portal fantasy series. I had custom designed main characters and hand
Mm,
painted them. And my husband came up with like special subclasses and character sheets. So when people got them, they could have a character they could physically play in any campaign. But the idea was down the line, if I flesh out the whole universe with other
mm,
characters, to write a campaign and sell it as like a additive kit for people
mm,
who are fans, or for people who maybe don't want to read the book but want to play through the
mm.
book in a different version,
Yeah.
but like, you know, still enjoy it in maybe a new format, because I do think there's an overlap with fantasy lovers and
Mhm.
fiction lovers and gamers and artists and all this kind
Oh, for sure. I mean, they all kind of the storytelling for
of stuff.
like say like Skyrim is very, very similar to a D&D campaign, which is very similarly structured to, I would say, most fantasy novels in general. I mean, they all kind of just, you know, kind of align that way.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And okay, I know you mentioned briefly, just like scratching the surface, your two books, but now I'm going to ask you to go delve deeper and let me know. Like, let's start with the YA. So you have a
Yeah.
YA book. What are the main characters? Kind of give me a little bit more of the blurb, you know, your bookish pitch, and tell me more. Let me know more than just
I
the
will read the
surface.
blurb because I'm terrible
Yeah.
at pitching the books.
Hey, that works.
I've been on Book Talk for almost a year now, a little over a year, and I am terrible at pitching my books. So I will read the blurb,
It's
and then
really tough.
I will introduce my characters and show you character art.
Ooh, I love this.
This is The Kids from Yesterday, freshman year. It is the first book in what is going to be either a 4 or 5 book series. I haven't quite figured that out yet.
That's fine.
Um, Claire Thomas has bounced around in the system for the last 3 years after the tragic unalivings, censor myself, of her parents during a home robbery gone horribly wrong. A new student at Broad River High School in Babylon City, Claire must keep herself afloat, surrounded by overbearing teachers, a hostile principal, and a group of intolerable jocks.
Hmm.
Among all the nonsense, Claire reluctantly makes 3 friends who help her uncover a plot by the jocks to gather a legion of superpowered people to take over the school. The Kids from Yesterday is a heartwarming but also heart-wrenching story about how childhood trauma affects each and every one of our lives. Claire and the other kids let their trauma and loss of innocence control them, or will they use it to grow and become better people?
Wow. And I see a comment saying that your ebooks have different covers. Ooh, that's
They
kind of
do. The ebooks are basically just kind of like it's in the same vein as this.
cool. Mm-hmm.
The paperbacks, so each of the books is going to follow one character through
Okay, yeah.
a new year in high school. So the first book is their freshman year. Second book is sophomore, junior, and then senior year.
Mm-hmm.
Then each of the books is going to be in the perspective of one of the four main characters.
Fun. I like that.
So all of the paperbacks are going to be just that character.
Okay.
The ebooks will be like, I don't have a shot of that anywhere on hand, but the ebooks are basically a shot of all four characters together, and then as the books go on, like they, noticeably grow older, get bigger, that type of thing.
That's cool. I like that. That is really neat. It's a new approach of and it allows people who are fans, like especially the
Mhm.
e-readers who like to read the stuff but then collect a different thing. It gives them like two different
Yeah.
artworks to enjoy. That is kind of fun.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of collecting things, so I like to make that type of stuff for people. Just like all of the paperbacks have these little like tags on the side of them on the spines. And they're all like
Mm-hmm.
different colors, like associating with the character that the book's about.
Fun. I love that.
I
Little
like
detail.
having little things like that. It makes me
Okay.
happy, so I just kind of made that for other people.
Well, that's the thing is like I don't know. My policy and everybody's different, so it's fine if you don't
Mhm.
agree. But you authors should write what they enjoy. Now I know there are
Mhm.
definitely authors out there who write to market, and it's a money
Yeah.
game, and maybe it's not exactly what they enjoy, but
Mhm.
that's their business, and that's there's nothing wrong or right about that. But like for me, it's I like to write what I enjoy, but albeit it makes marketing that much harder because I'm like, where can I find another me in the world? And I'm kind of weird,
Yeah.
so it's hard.
It marketing the Blood and Bone trilogy is significantly easier than marketing a young adult book based around my own personal music taste. Because my
But
music taste
you never know.
varies
I
and
love it.
it gets very odd.
I mean, who knows? You could be like creating a new subgenre that you don't know, and it'll be I don't know what you want to do, phonographic literature. I don't know, but like, why? But there you go. The Breakfast Club meets X-Men. I like that.
That's
I like
exactly what
that.
it is. That's exactly what it is. That's how I started kind of describing the two. It's very
That's a good pitch. That actually is a good pitch. You should use that. It's funny tags, and I wish I was better at those kind of tags where someone like has some kind of quippy, interesting, like off the wall comparison, and
Mhm.
people are like stop and pause and be like, "Well, that's interesting. Now I want to know more. I need to know why it's Breakfast Club meets X-Men." And
I started to notice that we're getting to the point now where not a lot of people on Book Talk, at least the younger crowd, none of them know what the Breakfast Club is anymore.
okay, fair enough.
They're like,
Maybe
I know
maybe
what
we need
X-Men is,
a
but
little
what's that
more.
person?
Hey, that's a good pitch for people who are our age who enjoy young adults. Now, if you could find a comparison to Breakfast Club for
Yeah.
Gen Z or whatever we're on right now, yeah, that may be again whatever that movie show is meets X Men. They
Mhm.
still do reiterations about that, but yeah, you had me at X Men. I see that. I love this. Hello, hello. I love a chatty crowd, but no, that's really cool. And but yeah, I love young adult because there's so much you can do,
Mhm.
and it's a great way again to delve into the again coming of age and various things and coming with reality and dealing with various trauma because your teenage years you're dealing with a lot, you have your hormones going and everything and so on, but then adding a layer of like fantasy or fiction or
Mhm.
something is always kind of a nice little twist to it too,
Oh yeah.
take it not 100% seriously but mostly seriously, but
Well, my goal at first when I first started writing it was I wanted to make it into a comic book. I had the entire first
Ooh.
book scripted out as a comic book, but among many of my talents, I cannot draw. So,
Hey,
um,
that's another one of those things. You can get his Kickstarter campaign, find someone who's a graphic artist, fundraise for a special edition graphic novel version, people eat that stuff up.
Mhm.
I wouldn't know where to look for that kind of artist, but they exist. They're out there. You would have to do the research.
That's once I get close to kind of finishing the series, I think I'm gonna kind of lean in that direction and republish them
That's
as comic books. Right now I'm currently in talks with the narrator for an audiobook, which is very exciting
yay,
for that.
fun.
And I have a narrator for the entire Blood and Bone trilogy right now. Book one is being worked on at the moment, but yeah,
Are
hopefully I can
you
nail down a narrator for kids. That'd be nice.
are you trying to go through something like ACX on the Audible side? Are you trying to find someone that takes and distributes a little more wide based, or for
We're going on
audiobooks
the
and
Audible
audio?
side for through ACX. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of how I've been doing it so far, and it's been a fun. It's a very easy process to do. Now I don't know again
Mhm.
the right or wrong. That's just what I've done. So,
Oh yeah,
but
yeah.
that's
It's,
exciting.
my wife Willow was playing around with ACX, and she told me, this is a good way to kind of get an audiobook, especially if you go like the royalty share route.
Hmm.
Um, so that's what I started doing. I found two really, really nice narrators that I like that are super friendly and are super interested in the project.
That's cool. I see a comment from Andrew saying, I might know someone for the audiobook. So you never know. You just ask and you may get, you may find your answer.
Oh
I have to
yeah.
be better about asking for things. I feel like
Mhm.
I begrudgingly do my own research, but I
Yeah.
forget for whatever reason. You can just simply ask.
Yeah,
Just
there was
the ether.
I was struggling to find a narrator for the kids from yesterday because, like I said, like I said before, it's been a huge like passion project of mine for the last 7, 8 years, and I couldn't find someone whose voice was just right because I've
Yeah.
been listening to this main character's voice in my head for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and I know what she should sound like, and just no one was kind of like, and no one's fault, they were all great, but like nothing was just right, and I kind of plateaued on auditions coming in. And my wife said, you can just go like look up talent and like message
Yep.
people and
I was going to
ask.
say
And I
that.
was like, I can ask people?
Yep.
Like, I can do that? I don't know about
Okay.
that one. That sounds
Yes,
that
yes.
sounds
I was
scary.
gonna say you can go and find someone. That's what I ended up doing. Is I was having issues with trying to find the right voice actor for
Mhm.
my YA, and I ended up kind of poking around. It was so funny when I finally started doing open auditions, but I ended up still finding it by doing my general search at the same time, and I was like, I really like you. But no, that's really cool. And best of luck. And it's going to be a lot of fun. If you haven't already started listening to your audio files, it's a lot of fun, that process and just hearing your book come alive.
Oh yeah, I hadn't for The Wrath of Blood and Bone, which is my debut novel. I knew there were some parts of the book and like the way that I wrote when I first started that definitely needed some polishing. So I wasn't like super thrilled when I released it, admittedly so. But once, and I hadn't really looked at it since, other than to kind of skim through for references for the second book. Um, but when the narrator sent me a 15-minute checkpoint, and it was just my prologue, and as he read it, I was like, man, this is really good. I was like, I
Yes.
feel a little bit better about myself. It's nice having someone read this to me with like kind of fresh eyes.
Yes. Oh, that's really great. I love that. I love that part. Yeah, no, it just gives you those good tingles. And I just
Mhm.
heard my 15-minute check-in for my latest audiobook, and it just puts a smile on your face and just like,
Mhm.
it's coming. It's going to be real. It's going to be alive. And that's so
Mhm.
great. But yes, let's go back to your dark fantasy now. So tell me your book blurb. Tell me about the main character or characters. Let's do that.
This one I have a little bit more practice on. So I will leave the book over there. So the Blood and Bone trilogy, the first book, The Wrath of Blood and Bone, is about a group of hunters in the city called Emberwatch. And they basically have kind of tasked themselves with hunting monsters that kind of come out at night, that have been unaliving people in the streets.
Hmm.
Um, what kind of happens? There's there's already kind of tension in the group. You can tell when the book starts out, but there's a crime that happens. I won't spoil it. That kind of divides the group in two. One group
Okay.
is kind of one group kind of just wants to leave it alone, while the other half of the group wants to solve the mystery and figure out what happened. And the two groups kind of come to a head at a certain point, and it kind of, you know, they're more or less battling each other while this looming threat is coming closer and closer. And it has some horror elements to it. It's, like I said, mixed with it's a good if the kids from yesterday was Breakfast Club and the X-Men, this is very much Dark Souls mixed with Silent Hill. I don't know if you've ever.
Hey, there you go. I like that. I like that description.
There's a lot of like abstract-ish horror going on. A lot of monsters, a lot of action, betrayals. Book 2 has a little bit of romance in there, which is nice. But yeah, that's pretty much the gist of the first book. The second book, I am about 3 paragraphs away from finally finishing, and it comes out December 6th and is available for pre-order.
Fantastic. Oh, you are that brave person. I'm so nervous with pre-orders unless I pretty much have the book done, because I'm always afraid I'm going to be like, something's going to happen. There's going to be a hiccup in my life. And I'm just so nervous about them. I'm horrible with pre-orders, but that's so cool. Congratulations. That's coming, and I'm excited.
I am a terrible procrastinator. So I released Wrath December 6th of last year. My plan was to have the full trilogy and the first book of The Kids from Yesterday done this year.
It's okay.
That's not going to happen. I procrastinated so much to the point that my wife kept looking at me. She's like, "You better hurry up. Clock's ticking."
Hey, that's fair. And like, here's the thing. I think at minimum, and readers are going to like yell at me in a moment, but at minimum, releasing one book a year is not a bad thing. Hey, not everybody's a full-time author. You have jobs, you have other things to do. You have to do it at your own pace and comfort zone. With that said, obviously, once the more you write and more you get into that cycle, and I don't know, I'm a creature of habit. So you create your routine, it gets faster and things start producing faster. It took me forever to put out my first book, but now I finally have that rhythm where I'm putting out one full length and 4 novellas. We'll see if I make that goal this year, but 4 novellas a year. And but even still, it's a challenge. It's hard.
Oh yeah, for sure. I had I basically had the first book of The Kids from Yesterday already plotted out and written. I just had to take it into a novel form. But still, even with that mixed with The War of Blood and Bone, which is the second book, I mean, just getting those 2 books out in a year was very, very not taxing, but exhausting.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, everybody has to find the right pace. You don't want to have burnout, which some authors push, have big goals, and then they just cave in. And I'm definitely a person about advocating a balance, and I have reached to the point where I am tentatively, we'll see, every year is different, tentatively a full-time author and artist, but even still, you have to have that right rhythm, that right pacing. You want to be moving yourself forward, but again, avoid burnout, avoid over dedication, and overstressing yourself.
I find little things to procrastinate with. Other than the cover for The Wrath of Blood and Bone that I just showed you, I make my own covers. So every time I like think of an idea of a new book and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna write that when I'm done with all this, I'll make a cover for it. Like right off the bat. I'm looking at my Atticus profile now. I have about 15 covers made for projects that I have not started.
Hold that.
I just really, really like making covers. So now I'm just looking at all these books that I feel like I have to write.
Hey, that's a good motivation. And I like that. There are definitely authors who, if you're not capable of making them yourself, there are ready-mades or pre-mades, depending on the terminology. And people love that because they'll see a beautiful cover and they're like, oh, I can write a story for that. And they buy it and it inspires them. And that's how they get that spark for new stories. I'm the kind of opposite. I have way too many stories already. I don't need another story. I just need to design covers for what I have and the time to write them. I need more time. I need like a 72-hour day and lots of coffee.
Oh yeah.
The coffee. Oh, there you go. I was like, all the coffee to keep me awake. Oh my! Are
Oh,
you
yeah.
a morning writer, or like, do you write early in the morning, late in the evening, squeezing out a
Kind of
chapter or two between things?
the middle of the day. I'm very fortunate where my full-time job allows me a good amount of time throughout the day to kind of get some writing done on the side.
Fantastic.
So kind of as like just what was it? Monday, I think. Yeah, it was Monday. It was earlier this week. I wrote I had my busiest day yet writing wise where I wrote almost 7,000 words at work. Um
That's so
which
exciting.
at a time I maybe can write 1,000 before I'm like, all right, I'm done and I have to like walk away. But that's on a good day. But I kind of just blew through a bunch of stuff. I was happy with it. I was like, cool, this is good. So like I said, my work allots me a lot of time for that every once in a while, which is where I get the bulk of it done. I'm the type of person when I get home throughout the day, I'm done. I'm checked out. I just want to sit in my chair and play video games.
I get it. I get it. I understand. And that's so funny because, like, the first thing I do in the evening is I'll turn on a show to binge or a movie because I've been reading all day. And so I think that's one of the reasons why I am a very slow reader. It's because I read all the time. It's my drafts, many, many, many versions of my drafts. And then I want to like zone out with something else.
Mhm.
And then I might read a few pages and go to bed. But yeah, no, I totally get that, and that is amazing. 7,000 is impressive. I started last month for the first
Mhm.
time because I used to, just the way I like to function. I like to
Mhm.
go kind of challenge myself to write a certain number of pages, but that can vary word count wise dramatically. It
Yeah.
can be a conversation which goes quick, or deep um, descriptive scene, setup scene, which takes forever to write because it's very dense. And so last month I started challenging myself on, word count. Just curious, like how many words do I actually just plop down on average a day, and how many, throughout a month? Because I had no clue. Have you
Mhm.
ever, looked at that? Obviously, you're gonna be aware when you do a big writing, and be like, wow, I knocked out 7,000. I'm you need a crown for that one of those book talk crowns.
When I sit down and try to focus on getting my writing done, I like my chapters to be, if I can help it, around the same length as like the previous chapter or the next chapter will be. Just because I like having it even. I like every chapter to kind of not have the same pace, but like the same length, so it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
seem too short. No one gets too
Yep.
bored reading a long chapter, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Um, so I'll tend to just kind of, once I feel like I've hit the word count of like the previous chapter, or I'm a little bit over, I'll kind of bring it to an end, and then I'll just kind of continue my chapters. I need to not focus on word count so much. Not that I'm trying to
Yeah.
get a high word count, but like I feel like my chapter's not done until I hit like a certain word count, and then I feel like I'm either rambling on or I'm including things that don't need to be there.
I understand.
So
Yeah.
word count can be both good to go by and a curse for me.
And that's one of the reasons why I never really cared about word count. Like a page, again, it just gives me an idea. And obviously, I don't want to, if
Mm.
my goal is 5 pages, go 16. That's a problem. That's probably 3 chapters right there. But
Yeah.
but it just gives me a general idea. And I'm like, okay, if I get close to that mark, that's okay. But yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely have some chapters that one time I'll have one that goes a little long, but that's what it needed. Or another one is like, that was a really short chapter, but that's all it really needed for I'm a cliffhanger person, so I love writing and ending chapters like cliffhangers and stuff like that. So if I get that good spot, I'm like, nope, there it is. That's what I needed. Moving
I
on.
love it. I love it. I'm very I've always wanted to kind of write um movies and like kind of TV shows and stuff like that. So a lot of my books are structured like that, where each chapter feels like the end of like an episode of a show or something. So like it ends on
Yeah.
like a cliffhanger, and then like the next chapter is like another episode. a lot like that.
I love
So
it because
I love the cliffhanger thing.
if I get frustrated as a reader, I appreciate it more as an author because as a reader, I'm still like, no, because now I have to read more. That's good. That's actually good. That's what I want. But some people don't like that frustration, but I don't mind it. And I see a question for you popped up and says, who is your favorite character to write? And you have, I guess you could pick one from each of your series because I feel like that's only fair, unless it's hard to pick one, but that's just me.
My favorite character from the Blood and Bone trilogy, my favorite character to write, I think, is a character named Corvo, who is a very mysterious, like monotonous, very serious person. And as the trilogy goes on, they kind of lose their sense of purpose, and as the trilogy goes on, they try to kind of find new purpose in something else, someone else, and it kind of brings them out of their shell a little bit more. They start to not feel emotions, but they kind of start to show their emotions a little bit more, wear them on their sleeve a little bit more, that type of thing. Corvo's a lot of fun. In the first book, they were not necessarily the comedic relief, but they were there to sort of their tone and their way of speaking would sort of just bring some levity to a scene.
I like
And then in
that.
the second book, they you learn about their origins a little bit. They're in the book a lot more than the first one, and they kind of come into their own and kind of become their main character. And the kids from yesterday is tough. All four of the main characters are based off of a personality trait that I have. It's a
That's very
very
interesting.
personal book. A lot of the book is about childhood trauma and kind of how you deal with that growing up. And each of them has a piece of trauma that I've suffered. So they're all
Mm-hmm.
very, very personal to me. I think my favorite, though, is probably a character named Maya, who she feels like she's not that she's not wanted, but she feels like people would be better off without her. She feels very left out, even though other people do their best to include her.
Mm-hmm.
She's very much her own worst enemy when it comes to that type of thing, but
Mm-hmm.
not to give away too much because the first book is only the first one out, is the only one out right now. But eventually she kind of figures out ways to sort of push that feeling aside and just kind of be in the moment with people who very much want her to be around and, don't
Fantastic.
want her to go anywhere, that type of thing.
That's fantastic. Well, it's exciting. And I love hearing an author that has like so many great ideas and knows where they're headed, at least for the next little while. Because it sounds like with, you're almost done with your first draft of the second of your dark fantasy. You have a third
Mhm.
one there, and then you have three of your YA. You have some work already ahead of you, and I'm sure along the way you're going to come up with more ideas and be like, wait.
The second book of the my dark fantasy trilogy has changed so much since I first started writing it. It became a little bit more complex and was very at the first form was very, very bare bones, and then I kind of changed a couple directions that I wanted to go. It's actually going to be 4 books, so it's going to be a trilogy and then a standalone to kind of wrap everything up. The second book's done. The third book in the trilogy, I have no idea what I'm going to do, but the standalone to wrap everything up's already written. So,
Cool.
the kids from yesterday is all outlined and done. The entire series, even the fifth book that I might not even write. And then I have an entire other series of novellas that I've already got outlined and written and plotted out that I won't get to for at least 2 years.
It's yeah, you have a question. The standalone is written question mark? Yes.
I have about 2, maybe 3 chapters of it written already.
But yeah, no,
When I get
I
bored, I work on that.
hey, that's good. I like that. And it's sometimes nice to like have a palate cleanser.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't know. Every author is different. There are definitely authors I've talked to, and they sit down, and that is 100% what they do is write the book, and they kind of block everything out. They don't market the others. They don't format anybody else. They just write the book, finish it up, publish it, move on, and go to the next one. I need those palate cleansers. I like to rotate, so. But I also publishing 2 series simultaneously, kind of like you, which is a little bit of a madhouse. So
Yeah.
sympathy.
It yeah, no, it definitely I definitely need that palate cleanser. I was talking to my wife the other day, after my huge writing sprint the other day. I was like, once I'm done with this, I need a break from these characters because they're making me very angry. I'm tired of being around these people and I need a break.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. And like I love that. I do like that. And I know I'm working on finishing my final first draft of my Dark Viking fantasy series, which it's novellas, so again, shorter works. Don't be too impressed, but it'll be the 16th one. And it's for me, I'm finally getting to the part of saying goodbye to characters again that I've been with for a while is a little saddening. But
Yeah.
so when you get there, and you will get there, I hope you handle it okay, because it's kind of like sad to say goodbye to characters.
I The other day, I'm not going to spoil who because there's people in here who I know have the second book pre-ordered, but I will give this away. I unalived a character the other day, a main character, and I
Welcome
they're
to the
by
club.
no means one of my favorite characters, but I almost cried at work. I was like, this is not good for me. I need to not do this.
I definitely did that for my first series too, and I got to that point, and I knew it was coming for a while, and I did it, and I was just like, I'm taking the rest of the day for my me time.
I think that was the last thing I wrote before I was like, okay, I'm done for the day. I think that was it. Yes, Marissa, you
uh,
will. I'm sorry. You
so
will.
for everybody, I feel like you need tissues. Bring tissues for the books at some point. So,
It's
oh no,
definitely the first book was definitely like it had overarching plots that would carry forward through the rest of the trilogy. The first book was very much a smaller, more contained story. The
uh-huh.
second book is a much larger adventure, but it carries much more emotion with it. And I've been told the first book made some people cry, and if that's the case, then the second book honestly might break some hearts.
Yes. Well, I say yes because again, 2 of my series, mind you, everybody, 2 of my series on the dark fantasy side. So as an author, I unalive a lot of characters, and I get that a lot from readers. Yet they still read my work, so that is bad on you because it only encourages me. But the YA one is a little safer, guys. But yeah, no, it is a interesting thing, and I have told some people I was just like, bring some tissues, you're gonna get it.
I had a
That's what you
lot of
should do.
people.
You should do a little, it doesn't have to be even a fancy book box, but if you ever need to like send out promos, especially to your fans, send a little like tissue box, those little tissue things, and put a sticker of like a character on it and be like, not necessarily the character
Yeah,
that is unalive, but it could be something related to it, and just send it, the book in the tissue box. There you go.
I've
Totally.
been I've been yelled at a good
Yeah,
amount of
travel
times
back.
for the prologue in my first book. Um, just because of it's basically you meet like this whole character, you get their backstory, and then you go on this adventure with them for like what is it, like 2,500 words. It's a long prologue, and
Mm-hmm.
you get lost in this character. You figure out learn who they are, what they want out of life, and then it's just done.
Yep.
Straight
Yep.
from the prologue.
I love that. I love rip the band-aid off and be like, let's go. Get ready. No, sometimes those are like the best ways to be like, it also like sets the mood because there are definitely people who are like, so how dark is it gonna get? And like sometimes you get that early band-aid pull off and you're like, okay, now
It's
I'm
important.
ready.
It's
I
important to rip
think
it off pretty
me.
early.
Yeah. So let me ask you, as I mentioned a little earlier, I I always call myself a slow reader, and it is partly true. There's a lot of it to do with like I don't have a lot of time to read, and my downtime is used differently. It's called binging shows. But with that said, what are you what are you reading at the moment? Anything, or are you just
I'm
concentrating on your work?
mostly concentrating on my work. When I do eventually pick up a book, it's most likely going to be a comic book. I have a lot of comic books.
Love it.
Um, A book. I started to reread the Game of Thrones series because I really wanted to rewatch the show, but I don't want to also put myself through the last season. So,
Hey, it's okay. You're not alone with that one.
so I was like, I'll just read the books, and then hopefully by the time I eventually finish, because I don't read that often, but by the time I eventually finish, maybe the last book will be out. So
Yeah, good luck.
I'm a few chapters deep into rereading that, and it's just, I mean, it's a classic. It's a great book.
It is. I was gonna say that they are written very well. It's just unfortunate that I don't know. My personal opinion, and against my personal opinion, is
Mhm.
after watching and seeing how big the TV show got and hearing all the chatter of the fans, I'm wondering
Mhm.
if Martin just psyched himself out because,
Yeah.
he's now just and he keeps putting out little other projects, but hasn't gone back to
Yeah.
that. And I just feel like he's just one of those authors who psyched himself out and
Mhm.
doesn't know how to do it because at this point he has so many fans. Not
Mhm.
everyone's going to be happy. You're just going to deal with it. It's the
I
style of book. Just do what you want to do and get it done. You'll be
what
done with all the complainers, and you'll get different ones to complain. But
I have a feeling after the last season, he definitely went back and rethought a lot of the things that he was probably going to end up doing.
Mhm. That's what
But
I'm
yeah,
thinking too.
he gets distracted by a lot of stuff. I mean, one of my favorite video games, Elden Ring, just came out last year, was written by him. And I'm like, that's great. I'm glad you made this game. I love it. I need you to go write that last book though, so that we can
Right?
like.
He keeps putting out all these like side collect, like he's part of like all these different anthologies and stuff. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
cool, but focus on the other one. But yeah, you have a couple questions, but one was toward you and asking someone who must have jumped in a little later was asking if you're ever considering having your book on audiobook. So answer that again.
Mandy, I have good news for you. Um, the Wrath of Blood and Bone, my first book, the
Look at
audiobook
you.
is being worked on as we speak.
Yay.
Um, they have a
Yes.
narrator, and then not long after the second book comes out, we're gonna get right to work on the audiobook for the second, so that we can kind of get that going. And then my plan is to, for the third book, is to, if it lines up properly, is to release both around the same time. But I know a lot of people just prefer audiobooks. I don't blame them. So they'll at least have that if they would prefer to read that. Kids from Yesterday audiobook. I am currently looking for a narrator. I'm in talks with one now. I'm basically just waiting for their audio clip, and if it's as good as I think it's going to be, it should start pretty soon. So that's very exciting.
It is
Yeah,
exciting.
George
I
R. R.
love that.
Martin did write Elden Ring. He basically wrote the entire like story of the world and like the entire backstory of it, and then the game designers just kind of ran with that. So I mean, he created the world. They wrote the game itself, but he created like the characters and stuff like that. And you can tell it's very Game of Thrones, and everyone's name sounds the same.
I love it. I love it. Let me ask you. Actually, I just looked at the time. We're flying by. Okay, I have questions. I have a couple questions I always try to ask every time. One, and this is partly because if this platform allows me, I've had a couple glitches before. I will repurpose this on my YouTube channel and put all your contact information below so people can continue to find you going forward. With that said, let me ask right now, do you have a website? What other socials are you on? Obviously, you're on Book Talk, but where can other people follow you? Do you have a newsletter? Answer those big things.
So I did have a website. Um, I more or less abandoned it, not for any particular reason. I kind of forgot it existed for a bit, and I just kind of
Just
resorted back to Linktree.
yeah. Hey, it's functional.
Yeah, I mean if it works, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I do want to get a newsletter out at some point, when my audience kind of grows a little bit. That'll probably be like an early next year kind of thing, if you know this keeps going. Um, I have a link tree in my bio, and then I have a link to my Instagram as well. I don't post on there often. What I do is mostly just kind of taking my TikToks and posting them there. I'm more or less
Way to
here,
go.
like I'm more or less here on Book Talk, like
Yes,
24/7.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well,
My
one
plan
thing
is
is like,
to.
oh,
My
sorry.
plan is to. No, you're fine. My plan is to next year branch out into different social medias, just to kind of get myself out there a little bit more. 'Cause I'm very, I like to say minimalist. I think the word is lazy.
And that's not
But
a
I'm
bad
very
thing.
minimalist with the way I do things. So I'm very like, I'll post on TikTok. If people see it, cool. If they don't, whatever.
But that's the thing is like if you're already reposting videos on, I think you said Instagram, if you expand outside of probably X, old Twitter, I never
Mhm.
figured that one out. But to each your own. They're on every platform speaks to different authors in different ways, and
Yeah.
you'll have to go play around and figure out what works for you. But reposting, repurposing things work wonders, especially with anything that allows reels. That's like a great way for
Yeah.
people to find you, start following you, and you make it once. And then you share. It's beautiful for the lazy people inside, or the people who just are. My time is money. I can only use so much, so I understand that.
Yeah.
But
I,
but yeah.
I I did dip my toe into, what was it, sometime earlier this year, it was back in like February. It was before Twitter changed their name. I
Mhm.
dipped into um Twitter, like book Twitter. That's a terrifying place. It's
I
terrifying.
never figured that platform out, and I kind of backed away with it. I just post
Mhm.
things every so often just to like because I have some people that's their favorite platform. It's like, hey, I exist. If you find me, that's great. Kind of like what you were saying, but like I'm done. It didn't
Mhm.
work for me, but that's fine.
I
It works
can't
for
do
other people. That's great. Everybody's
it.
different.
I used to really like Twitter, but it was just kind of like the over influx of just like daily news got to me, so I had to get off.
I gotcha.
And when
It's
I went
news
back
for
to like, yeah, exactly. When I went back to like kind of market my book a little bit, I was like, nah, I'm done with this. I can't go. I can't go back to this place.
Yeah, I feel like book talk here is just like one of those where a bunch of people end up at the same coffee shop and you just start talking
Mhm.
about what you do, what you're writing, what you're reading.
Yeah.
It's just very casual, but I like that. I like this interface. But I think that a lot of people have found they love this one, but it's the place to be. But yeah, going to if you do start a newsletter, which is very advisable for different reasons, but and you are a person who needs a palate cleanser, challenge yourself to do like a short story so you can have one of those things to offer people to join your newsletter. And one, it gives you a little palate cleanser, and two, it's a little freebie, and people enjoy it, and it may also spur something else. Who knows? You may have a spin-off series based off a character you didn't realize. And you're like,
I did have a bunch of anthology stories for the Blood and Bone trilogy, short little novellas. So I mean,
oh,
once I start a newsletter, I might do that because I kind of put a bunch of them on the shelf, and I was just
but
going to release
yeah,
a few with an eventual omnibus. But the ones that I shelved, honestly, if I start a newsletter, I might just put them in there.
yeah, I was gonna say it's a great way, or put a couple on there, and if they like that, get the rest of the omnibus. Get the collection. Who knows? Wait, sorry, that's the sneaky author side of me. Like, how do I get you to come and be,
Oh,
fall in love with my writing and want more? Always want more. Yes, and I see Andrew saying do little novellas for the newsletter, all for the. Oh yeah.
oh yeah, that's what I planned on doing. The character Corvo that I talked about had a novella planned. Another character named Arthur had a novella planned. So I mean, yeah, a couple of characters are going to get their own little like side stories. And then I had a couple just random like anthologies about like characters far off in the world,
hmm
something like that.
And I do see question for you about arcs for number 2. Are you gonna have them offered, and are people gonna sign up, and how do they find you, and how does that work?
I have a Google form in my link tree. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You might have to copy it to like a mobile browser or something.
Mhm.
But one of the pitfalls of Linktree is that sometimes it doesn't work. Um, but I am currently accepting ARCs. The book comes out in like 2 months. I'm about to send it to an editor soon. Um, after I get back from vacation, not next week, but the week after, I might end up closing the form and just running with who I have. But yeah, it's going to be open now for at least the next 2, 3 weeks. So
fun. I love ARC signups. Not to say, okay, let me say, I love the idea of ARC signups. I would never be a good ARC reader because I have no time to read other things. Let me put that out there. I'm sorry. I wish I could read everything, but I know I'm not going to be good about keeping true to the time schedule. So that is not for me personally, but I always applaud ARC readers. So if you're a person who likes to read and be an ARC reader, and that is fantastic. Do that.
I procrastinate in my own work. I would feel terrible procrastinating someone else's.
Yeah, yes, and that's the yes. And like for me right now, I don't know, I think it'll change in the future. I always have like a low level open ARC signups, and I usually just periodically post something out there when it comes close to when I'm actually gearing up to send out an ARC to kind of let people know that's there. But so far, I haven't really ever needed to shut it down. I'm just like, you do understand, there's a certain time to sign up to get into this project. If not, you'll just roll over to the next one if that is what you want.
That's a good idea. Just always keep it open. I like that. I might do
Yeah,
that.
it's just a way to build up. And I know maybe if you get to the point where you have like 30,000, that might be a little too much. But when you're starting out, more is great.
Yeah.
Because there's always going to be someone who doesn't do what they say they're going to do. A lot of those actually, and so playing the numbers game, the more you have, the higher probability that you'll have a decent number of reviews. Says the one who is horrible at getting reviews. Do as I say, not as I do. I don't know.
I'm terrible at getting reviews. I have, for both of my books, I have really good reviews, but they're very, very limited number of reviews. It's very,
Yeah, for me, yeah.
very short number.
I understand. It takes me forever, and I don't know. I know people are reading them, so I'm like,
Yeah.
I hope you just, And the thing is, like, you can't force an ARC reader to review. All you can say is, "Pretty please." That's the deal. I gave you a freebie. Can you pretty please, with sugar on top, can you leave that review? At least one place. You don't have to do the whole gamut, but that's great. Yeah. Well, okay, let me see. Okay, I asked that question. Where can people buy your books? That's one of the other big ones I need to ask. Where can they buy them? Do you sell direct? Is it on Zon? Are you wide? Let me know.
My books are purely on Amazon right now. My plan over the next couple months is to eventually pull out a KU and go wide with the ebook and the paperback. And then the eventual audiobooks will be on Audible.
Ah, okay, fun. I love it. I love it. Absolutely love it. Yeah, I have been for a long time I'll say almost exclusive on Zon because I always sold author copies through Etsy. It was kind of my roundabout. But I'm one of the authors that this past year decided just, based on things and how I was feeling, I did pull my books out of KU, ebooks out of KU, which allows me to take everything wide minus my Audible stuff at some point. So that's kind of like my goal next year is try to broach making them as wide as possible. But I was able, this is beta, everyone. So I finally, it's been months trying to figured out how to put a beta bookshop onto my website. So now I can sell my paperbacks and hardcovers, soon to be ebooks too, direct through my website, which I was just like, very, very complicated for me to do because I'm not techie and it took me forever. But it also can do like cool things like book boxes and, your character art or whatever you have else. It allows you to like expand. So always a fun thing to think in the future. It does take time and energy and effort, so plan accordingly.
My New Year's resolution going the next year is to put a little bit more effort into this because it's something I really like doing, but it's very I look at my wife who's also an author and all of like the awesome stuff she does on a daily basis, and I'm like, man, I want to do that. And then I just pick up my phone and I doom scroll on TikTok.
Yeah, and I see Andrew posting, and I do want to mention this because if you don't do this, maybe this is something you want to do. Book plates are a simple thing. If you don't know what this is, those are little, essentially fancy stickers that authors sign and can mail out. So if someone buys a book, maybe on Zon or wherever, they can get the little sticker and put it in, and it's the autographed sticker. It's not, again, a true book signing right there, but it's the next best thing. It's a real signature from the real author sent directly to you. And for people who aren't able to ship books, especially like internationally, those are little things that might be able to be a little more functioning. And yes, I have gotten into book plates. It's great. So one other question I do want to make sure I always ask before I forget is there any topic that you wanted to cover or question that you had that you didn't get a chance to ask at this point?
No, I don't believe so. I think I'm good. I think that was it.
Oh, well, thank you so much for coming out and hanging out with me. And if you
Yeah,
ever
of
want to
course.
do it again, I do these
Yeah.
weekly, and any other authors do. I do these weekly, schedule in advance. But yeah, it's fun to meet people and just chit
Yeah,
chat
of
and
course.
talk about books and learn about what everybody else is up to. And I love the idea of your D&D campaign. Again, I might have to bug you later, Leela. Tell me more behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be happy to do this again. I had a great time. It was
Yay!
great.
Well, I'm excited. I look forward to your next release, December 6th, 4th, 4th,
Yep.
6th.
The War
Which
of
one?
Blood and Bone comes out December 6th. It's available for pre-order now on in my Clicky Clicks. Um, there you can sign up for my ARC team. You can get my other books as well. The Kids from Yesterday, or book one in the trilogy, The Wrath of Blood and Bone. This is no longer the cover. I believe it's still the ebook cover, but I made a new cover that I wanted to go with that sort of matched
I like it.
the rest of the trilogy that I'm coming out with.
Hey, and that's a good thing about when you're an indie author, you have that
Mhm.
control. You can change
I
things,
love it.
update things, improve things whenever you want.
Mhm.
Just announce it in advance to your readers so they know. But
Uh, I'm
that's
so.
always a fun thing to do. And if
Mhm.
you don't know, and for any authors who are listening, you don't they didn't pay attention. I think just a couple days ago, Zahn announced, though you still can't
Mhm.
have the pre-order function for paperbacks
Yep.
and I think hardcovers, now you can actually set the release date
Mhm.
in advance, which is brilliant. And I don't
It's
know
so
why they
good.
haven't done that forever. So
It's
now you
so
can have
good.
a full, beautiful release on the same day.
It's so nice. My first book I wanted to release on December 6th of last year. December 6th is a very like particular day that I wanted my book to come out, and so I hit publish 2 days before, then it ended up releasing on the 5th. So it's kind of messed up, but this book will release on the 6th.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. And yeah, there you go. Andrew's a good point. You can now call the original copies special editions, and that's true. Because I had to
Yes.
do that with my first book I ever did. The first cover was just not right in the end. But
Yeah.
there are a few of those that exist, and I think I have a few copies for down the line when I have like super fans one
Yeah.
day.
There are.
But one of those.
I've always been big into graphic design, and I knew I wanted to eventually make my own covers. But with my first book, I went with an artist, and they did a phenomenal job. But I kind of, more or less, due to my own fault, I kind of settled on what I wanted instead of kind of going after something particular. So I eventually did just make my own covers and find that particular style that I wanted. Um, I've actually updated it twice. The first cover that I made that you can no longer get, I think the author J.B. Wright, I don't know if you know her, she has the only one of those types of covers.
Oh,
Yeah, she got it, and she bought it right when I changed the cover, and then I think like 2 weeks later, I changed it again to something else, and she's
mhm.
the only one that got that middle ground cover.
That's kind of cool.
She
That's
has a
super
very
special edition.
Yeah, she has a very special cover that no one else will ever get ever because I don't think I have the file for it anymore.
Very super special edition. Whoa, that is really kind of fun. But yeah, no, hey, again, update. That's great. Also, fun idea. If you do like playing around with different covers, you could always come out. I think AP Beswick on here called his version a legacy edition, but like he came out with alternative covers for his series. So he has like one that you see all the time, and then this flashy other one that are special edition ones that every so often he'll release for certain things. Um, but they're limited runs, and people just snatch them up.
Nice. I had thought of because I have this version of the original version of all 3 covers for the trilogy done already. Me and the artist worked together and just got them all done together because I knew what I wanted. My thought for like either the omnibus or like a special collection would just be to kind of like divide like the cover into thirds and just kind of have like parts of each cover like together. I thought that would
Yeah.
be cool, like the original covers. I had a thought like that, but I'm not quite sure yet. We'll
Well, if
see.
you ever get weird thoughts, I have weird thoughts. So one thing I did for my Kickstarter campaign is because the covers are so pretty. I did have the versions where they didn't have the font on it, and so I came up with little cards of the front and back book cover, and I just signed them and sent them out. But if you have like older versions or ones that you never ended up releasing, you could always come up with like a little card or a sticker or something. Again, little fundies to like give to people. Be like, I don't even know what you would term those, but like again, special editions, original editions, the unknown editions, whatever you could say, and be like just fun things to like display and pass along.
I like the Legacy edition. That's cool.
Yep,
I
it's
like it. I
always
like
fun.
that title.
I love learning from other authors, and like everybody comes up with so many creative ideas. I'm like, just tell me more. I'll pass along what I can think of, and vice versa. Share alike. Well, I don't want to take up your time too much longer, and I know with I am a dog mom, and I have to take care of the dog before too long. But thank you again for coming out and chatting with me for this last hour. And again, seriously, if you ever want to come and do it again, let me know. You have my contact. And for everybody who's been listening, this is your last call. If you have any questions, this is the last minute or two to throw them in there. And if not, I will say this has been a lovely chat.
I had a great time. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Any other time you want to have me on, come let me know.
Perfect. Well, maybe something, and then in like the new year when you have some of your next book out, and you'll be like, this is my new book, baby.
Sure
Or whatever
thing.
you call it. I don't know if you call book babies. I do.
Is mozzarella
But
sticks with fried cheese? Yes, it is.
I love it.
I have to do something with these. I have bookmarks, stickers, and keychains for the kids from yesterday, and I have to do something with all these. I'm not quite sure what to do with them yet.
I love it. That's cool.
I got
Well,
these
if you
done
ever
by
do
Book Therapy Book Therapy Company. They're great. They do great work. They made all these bookmarks for me. I love it.
see there. Wait. See, I always like taking. I'm getting better about having a sticky note to like take notes because again, I always learn things constantly. There's always like little tidbits of things that I'm like, I didn't know that, or that's kind of cool, or something. So that's neat. That's a whole plot point in kids.
That is
But
the entire. That's It's a point that's brought up multiple times. Is that mozzarella sticks are more than just fried cheese. They are life. They're the soul, and they're excellent.
I love it. I love it. Man, now I kind of want a mont stick. I haven't had one of those in a moment. Ah. No, that's cool. And oh, now I like that. I like this idea. Monsticks. And again, visualizing book boxes, you come up with like some creative ways to like again with those kind of taglines. I do like this. I do like this. Okay. Well, thank you for everybody. I have run out of time, and I will catch up with you at another point. And for everybody listening, thank you so much for joining us, and we will talk next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.